We have the following equation that if we take two numbers a and b, the greatest common divisor of a and b times the least common multiple of a and b is equal to a times b. This gives us another way of finding the least common multiple or greatest common divisor if we already know one of them. For instance, let's say that we wanted to find the least common multiple of 4 and 10. Well, if we have the numbers a is equal to 4 and b is equal to 10, then AB is equal to 40, and the greatest common divisor of 4 and 10 is pretty easy to calculate because they're pretty small numbers. So the biggest number that divides both 4 and 10 is 2. So plugging these values into our original equation, we see that the greatest common divisor of 4 and 10 times the least common multiple of 4 and 10 is equal to 4 times 10, or 40. Well, we decided that the greatest common divisor of 4 and 10 is 2. We don't know the least common multiple yet. And we have 40 over here. So if we just take this equation and divide both sides by 2, we get that the least common multiple of 4 and 10 is 20. And that is true. The smallest number that both 4 and 10 divide into evenly is 20. So if we want to calculate the least common multiple of 21 and 6, then A is equal to 21 and B is equal to 6. So A times B is equal to 126. And since one of the numbers, namely 6, is pretty small, we can calculate that the greatest common divisor of 21 and 6, well, it's going to have to divide into 6, so that only leaves a few numbers. Looks like the greatest common divisor, the biggest number that divides both 21 and 6, is 3. So now if we've got the greatest common divisor of 21 and 6 times the least common multiple of 21 and 6 is equal to 21 times 6, or 126. But we know that the greatest common divisor of 21 and 6 is 3. We figured that out over here. So now we take this equation and divide both sides by 3. We get the least common multiple of 21 and 6 is equal to 42. And indeed, the smallest number that both 21 and 6 divide into evenly is going to be 42. That is, if we look at multiples of 21 and 6, the first one they share in common will be 42.